which part of the movie deflated all the tension for you?
Okay, so little things started coming up where I'm just like, okay, oh, would you really tell Adrian's brother that you drugged him the night that he died? I'm like, little things like that. I mean, but like little things, like they weren't too much. So you see Cecilia and you see Adrian in his invisible suit in the rain. He is about to kill her. And then you see this cop, and then the cop tries to shoot him, and then Adrian just walks up to him, and you think he's about to kill him, and then he just walks away. And to me, at that point, I was like, really? Because even though they didn't use this plot point, I felt like that I knew the end of the film already, which was that, okay, the cop is alive. So now is the only reason why he was kept alive is because the script wants someone to come at the end of the film and say, no, I saw the Invisible Man. She's not crazy. Because why else would he leave him alive? He killed like what, 10 other cops before that? So then why did he leave this cop alive?
I saw it differently. So actually all the cops in that facility, when they're escaping, they didn't kill any of them, I think. I think all of them were left alive. And I was having a similar experience with that because I was like, wait, he's leaving them all alive. They all see him. So that would be such an easy thing to bolster her case. But then in like the next scene where she gets arrested, it was after they recover the suit, I think. The cop says, well, yeah, a bunch of people said like, we have the suit where like something happened maybe, but we don't know. They like brush it aside so casually, despite having the suit, even if it like it's not working right now or whatever, it's still, you got the suit. And you've had a dozen people who got injured by this invisible guy who can tell you something really weird is happening, and there was like this thing that was like flashing in and out of sight. Like, how is that not an open and shut case? But at that point in the movie, they were treating it like it wasn't. They were like, well, we don't know. Just seemed really weak to me.
Yeah, there are definitely some weak points in that. And I don't know, at least with the cops inside the place, at least arguably you can say they were knocked out, but none of them were moving, I guess, at the end of those scenes, which made me think, okay, maybe there's the possibility then that a lot of them are dead. And for some reason, Adrian has super strength when you get an invisible man suit for some reason. I don't know how, but to me, it just felt like, okay, now I know that they're going to bring the cop in and then he's going to say, she's not crazy. But they never used that. So I'm thinking to myself, so why was that scene even in there? Because it just kind of seemed a little wasted. That was one thing for me where like all the tension was deflated. But other than that, this film was phenomenally tense. Yeah. Phenomenally tense. Like, you know, I remember talking to you about Parasite. I remember you were saying that you had to pause it because that was tense. And I didn't feel that way. This film was so tenseful that I almost had to stop. Now that we're in spoiler territory, I can say that when she goes into the restaurant with her sister and is talking to her, and then her sister's throat gets slit by the Invisible Man, and the Invisible Man puts the knife in her palm. Yeah. And then it's just at that point I had to stand up and I'm like, nope. Like it just kept on building, and the plot kept on thickening and layering, and it was like, it was so good, and at the same time I didn't want to watch it anymore because it just kept on building and building, and it didn't stop there, and it kept on going and going. It was good, but man, was it tense. Boy, was it tense.
Yeah, I thought the tension was great. I think it maintained a good sense of tension through the movie. Never really got bored or anything during the movie. It was all, I think it was all compelling and interesting. There were a couple other things that bothered me a little, like with the sister, the fact that Adrian sends her an email that is basically a really nasty email that he pretends that is from Cecilia's email address. And like, that's the sort of thing where, come on, to spend 5 minutes talking about it, people's email addresses get hacked. Like, it didn't seem believable to me that she would so quickly like, oh yeah, you're just lying to me by saying you didn't send it. I'm not going to talk to you ever again. Like, really? I mean,
yeah, there are definitely parts like that you're just thinking to yourself, wait, really? Like, I mean, one thing, it didn't really take me out of the film, but it's when she calls Adrian's phone, and for some reason he left it up in the attic.
that was kind of weird.
Yeah, like he carries his phone with him, but he's pronounced...
put it on silent? I mean, come on.
I mean, not even that, but like he carries his phone around when he goes to kill people. Like,
yeah, do you have like a pocket in your invisible suit for your phone? Like,
yeah.
Why would you even bring it?
Yeah, and you're trying to tell the world that you're dead, so why have the phone? Like, what's the point? Like, are you living up in the attic and you need some entertainment? Like, you need to go on Pornhub or something?
Yeah.
Like, I just...
Oh my god, that's a good point, because you can like basically track where a phone goes, like police can, through like triangulation or whatever. So think of it this way: if Elon Musk got murdered and then somebody was carrying around his phone to like scenes of other crimes, like where people are getting murdered, people would figure that out. His phone disappeared. It's still powered. Oh, it's receiving calls, and we can tell that it went to this like neighborhood where this person got killed. Like, that's a big red flag that you're putting out for yourself for no good reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not only that, but the fact that he took photos of her and then he brought it upstairs, and then she doesn't take the incriminating evidence downstairs. She just leaves it up there. Yeah,
I mean, I agree with you. These things are all things that, like, they did bother me slightly during the movie, but it wasn't like it wrecked it. It was just like, I wish they would have done that a little smarter maybe, but...
Right. And that's the thing, is that there's so much that's upholding the film. There's so much strength in all the other aspects that I'm not caring as much. I guess that's kind of like Emma in a way, where there's so much effort being put into everything else, and I'm so emotionally invested with tension that it's hard for me to kind of break out of it. One other thing that I think that it would have helped out the film a bit more was that it was obvious to me when she finally shoots the Invisible Man in the house. They put the camera as a close-up on the Invisible Man, and then you just know, okay, this is definitely not going to be Adrian. Because one, we never really have seen Adrian in a full shot of his face in the beginning parts of the film. So even if you did reveal the mask, I really wouldn't know if that was Adrian or not unless you told me. Yeah. So obviously the close-up of the mask, I know that you are definitely trying to tell me that, oh, look, it might be Adrian. But because I've never seen really a close-up of Adrian before, this is clearly going to be someone else. Yeah. So I wish that was set up better, too.
Yeah.
What surprised me, too, was that this is a 2-hour film. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at the runtime, and I was thinking originally, like, this has got to be an hour and a half. There's no way this is going to be longer than that. So I just feel like that little bit of extra time really showed me that this is someone that actually kind of cared about a film. Because usually with horror films like this, they're pretty short because they just don't care. They're just pumping them out because horror films are typically easy to make. So in that regard, I felt like that it was, right off the bat, it was just kind of interesting that it was a 2-hour film.
And then it didn't feel that long, showed that they used that time pretty well. Part of what might illustrate why that worked for this movie was it didn't do a lot of the cheap things that other horror movies do, like jump scares. Like, there's a couple of moments that are kind of surprising in this, but they're not cheap like a jump scare is because they build up to it, they earn it.
Yeah, it's a payoff, yeah.
Yeah, and whereas I'm remembering The Nun, which had like all these bottom of the barrel, like cheap jump scares that just were so dumb. And like you could see them coming a mile away, and oh god. But this movie doesn't do anything like that. It's aiming higher with the tension and the scene setting. So I think it actually does quite well with that 2-hour time limit. I didn't feel it was dragging. I didn't feel it was, wasting time really.
No, I've seen complaints of people saying that it's the same thing over and over again. But it's the same thing over and over again, but it's doing it differently each time.
Yeah. Another like trope I kind of was worried the movie was going to do was either, kill some minor characters, like show the bad guy murdering like the daughter or her friend or something. Or the Lyft driver. I'm like, when this Lyft driver shows up to bring it to his mansion, like I was just so confident he's going to die. He's going to die.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't.
Yep. I thought the exact same thing. Another trope that I thought was going to happen, which I'm so glad didn't, is that right when the Invisible Man hits the daughter, and then the father comes home and thinks, oh, it was you, and already there's a little bit of misunderstanding. Sure, fine, whatever. But then she's just left in the house, and then you see her like pouring coffee grounds all over the floor to see if he's going to step anywhere near her. And then you see that, oh, she threw paint down on him. And it's all this buildup of her destroying that house.
Yeah.
And I was just waiting, oh, please don't do a misunderstanding, because it felt like that they were building it up so that
I was worried about that too. Yep.
Yeah, I thought that the dad was going to come home and say, "What did you do to my house? Oh my God!" And it never happened. So I was happy with that.
The only way that I would have liked a payoff of that was if it was like Home Alone, where like they forget about it until the very end, until the very last line is like, "Kevin, what did you do to my room?"
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah,
that's a great ending.
Could have done that. Yeah. But doing nothing was fine too.
But I love the buildup of events of just, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. And I wasn't necessarily seeing a lot of them. So you see that he slits the sister's throat, didn't see that coming, and then all of a sudden she's pregnant. What? And then you find out the brother is actually involved with the other brother. Like, oh crap. And just things just kept on piling up. And they did an effective job of me never guessing it necessarily.
Yeah. One thing that surprised me at the end was when we actually meet Adrian. The actor doesn't even portray him in like an evil way. He's like just a regular guy.
Yeah, and it almost makes you question.
Yeah, yeah.
And but I like that, because then I remembered in the beginning of the film how he was so abusive to her, and you actually believe her. But then you almost go into this little bout of doubt, a little bit, where you're thinking maybe was she the one that was just the abusive? But the film is so structurally sound that when you go back to the beginning, you think, okay, she ran away for a reason. I remember all the things that she said and she did, and you believe her enough. So I thought that was good. And I also loved, it was almost kind of like a solo moment from the movie Star Wars, a Solo Story or whatever it's called. Even though I don't think that's an amazing film, I liked how at the end of that film, it was just in some guy's office. And in this one, it wasn't this giant climactic moment, really. It was more just subtle and two characters talking. It was something that I wasn't expecting to see at all. I couldn't go into this film and when I first see the trailer and think, oh, the third act is going to be both of the characters that are trying to kill each other sitting at a dinner table peacefully. I just didn't see that coming.
I mean, this kind of ties into what my issue was with where his body was never really looked at, apparently, because when they find him at the end, like nobody ever addresses like, wait, whose body did we find? You know, like what? Yeah. How did he fake his death where basically nobody really looked at his body? That was a little curious. Yeah. It was to me, the optics angle kind of confused it a little too much because it made it like too obvious to the audience that he was going to have some sort of invisible camera suit thing. But it made everyone in the movie seem really dumb because they never thought about that. And it would have worked better for me if he was like, okay, a tech entrepreneur, billionaire, okay. But maybe on the side, like his secret thing was this optic stuff. Like, don't make it that obvious because that puts it in everyone's minds, which makes it too obvious to the audience and not obvious enough to the people in the movie.
Yeah, it would have made it stronger if that was his side project, because even in the film, I mean, for me, I had to pause it to really read that entire paragraph. Yeah. So I'm fine with it, but at the same time, you know, it even says that, oh, the billionaire was known for optics or whatever. So it would have been stronger if no one knew about it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, in our world, in the real world, like that seems so far out of the ordinary that no, we're nowhere near creating anything like that. Yeah. But apparently in that universe, that's widely accepted that, okay, this guy does it. He's the Elon Musk of that world, except more advanced. So, yeah.
I think that it's the culmination of all these little details that narratively didn't quite work in my mind that kept it kind of from being a great movie to me. I think it's still good, and I would recommend it. It's a unique, tense twist on on what you might expect from a movie like this. Good. It's a very good movie.
Right. For me, I think that I would give it more of a negative review if it made my mind wander more. Because it didn't keep me bored. It kept me engaged. Yeah. If it was any other kind of film where, okay, now I see all of these issues because the film isn't doing anything else for me, then I would have an issue, because it's when the film isn't doing a job of keeping me entertained that my mind starts to wander and starts looking at all of the aspects that makes it not great.
Right.
But because this film is keeping me so engaged, the issues don't matter as much to me, because objectively, yes, I think that this film could be a lot stronger in a lot of different aspects of it. But for the pure engagement of it, I still find it interesting. So just my gut reaction to it is I think it's a phenomenally well-made film, and I want more films like this. And then the critic side of me is saying there are definitely some weak points in it that didn't necessarily destroy it for me, but in order to make it stronger, they could have been finessed a little bit more.
Yeah, and it's the kind of movie I'd give a pretty broad recommendation to. Even people who don't really like horror movies. It's not a gory horror movie like a couple people get killed, but it's not a torture porn kind of gross out movie at all. It's all about the tension and suspense, which it does very well without any cheap tricks. It does not like cheap
it has a purpose, and it knows what it wants to be and what to do, and it does it effectively. But not like a cheap horror film. Like you can just pull anyone out. Like here's some posters. There's a lot of them out there. For me, Invisible Man, highly recommend. You should all go see it.
Yeah, I'd recommend it too.